was excited about how we were playing at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, that's always a huge part of it. I was really excited to see how we were competing, in really all three phases. But when you're playing the number 10 team on the road, there's got to be a level of consistency. And so, as we just said in the locker room, when that sun comes up tomorrow, we're going to work on building that. And it really comes down to the basic emphasis, which is football every single day. Playing with great discipline, with great eye control. We got an unbelievable team that we're going to be able to grow into a good team, and being able to draw from these experiences here today, and this first opportunity is going to be huge for us.
They had almost 500 passing yards, and a lot of those guys were wide open. What did you see on the passing?
Yeah, that's really in the second quarter it was a huge quarter for them in terms of explosive plays, and really again it just comes down to playing with eye control and understanding playing and sticking to the plan, and we've got to do a much better job as a coaching staff. That starts with me. We understand what we're coming into here, and the wide receivers we're going to see, a quarterback that is a Heisman candidate. Week in and week out, though, we're going to see some personnel that creates great challenges like that, and as we prep and prepare as a coaching staff, we'll do a better job, and we'll learn from this. And it's we knew coming into the season that we have some guys that have played a fair amount of football, but it is going to take gaining some experience, and exactly what it looks like to be able to be successful when you're playing some elite talent like that, in order to be consistent.
We saw Ashton do a lot of things tonight, both in the receiving game and in the running game. What did you think of his performance?
Yeah, we're, again, excited about there's things that we did in this game that we're excited to see. The bottom line is we can't give up that many explosive plays in the air, and we knew we were going to have to play much better in the red zone, and those were two critical factors for us in terms of eliminating touchdowns when we got down in the red zone. We didn't do that today. The run game, we ran the ball well, but we didn't have as many attempts, obviously, as we would like to. We only had 24 rushing attempts to score, given the nature of the score. We were throwing the ball more, but I was excited to see how Ashton not only ran the ball, how George ran the ball, and then to be able to see what they were able to do out of the backfield receiving the ball. I mean, Ashton had some good plays there that we were able to capitalize on, and again, that's not just those guys. It starts with the offensive line. I was excited to see how our offensive line competed. We had a couple of freshmen playing for us today against a very big front that has some experience coming back, and so that's something we can draw from and continue to build forward on.
In the first half, you mentioned the amount of passes versus runs, but I think when the game was still close, it was 24-13 still passing. I mean, were you just seeing something through the pass there, or would you like to maybe run the ball a little more?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to be able to have a plan to get the defense moving on the field, and then obviously within there, then the run game will come along with it. But I was excited about what we did. We were able to move the ball, in terms of offensively early on in the game, to your question. I mean, I wouldn't take anything away from what we were doing, through that first quarter and early on into the second quarter there.
Andy, when it comes to Taylor, we've talked a lot about his response this year. He gets off to a really good start, going 6 of 9, over 100 yards. He had a stretch there where he didn't complete a pass for 10 straight attempts, and it ended with that run ended with a pick.
Mm-hmm.
He was good to start the second half, but what did you think of his response today, I guess?
Yeah, you know what? For him being, a young quarterback that is still learning, developing, and growing with every opportunity he gets, I mean, I'll stand by TG every day of the week. I mean, the competitor he is, I wouldn't necessarily say all of those were on TG. But again, that's us as a team, and being more consistent and taking advantage of some of those things we had, the opportunities that again would have kept those sticks moving and kept the spark going with the offense.
I know season opener wasn't going to be perfect, but what do you think of special teams? I mean, you scored the touchdown, you missed the PAT, put the ball on the ground a couple times on that kickoff, and then you had a chance to pin him at the 1, and it slips into the end zone. So what did you think of special teams today?
Yeah, I mean, there's a level of consistency there that we've got to improve on in the execution of, the extra points, taking care of the ball. Those are things that are a must. Those are things that we just spoke about in the locker room that, again, whether you're playing the number 10 team on the road or, whatever opportunity you get, those are the things that, we'll grow from and we'll do a much better job. We had an opportunity to pin them down there deep, and we missed that opportunity when James, I felt like James punted the ball really well today. The first snap was a little high. He handled it, got it off, and I thought he did a great job today. So, again, there's bits and pieces here and there early on in the season. It's got to be, we as a coaching staff, we'll work diligently to make sure there's more of a consistency within it.
You mentioned not all the incompletions are Kalen's fault. Is there anything you can attribute the drops to today?
No, it's one of those deals, like, just to focus on finishing the play and obviously getting the ball in our hands first.
Seems like a lot of guys were slipping out there. Was there anything issue with the cleats or the ground?
Yeah, there was. There was a few guys in coverage, a few of the wide receivers too, in that situation. That's something that we're going to have to look into. It's the same cleats that we've always worn. That was something that we were trying to, we were communicating about that and making sure early on in the game, because it happened more than a few times within coverage. And then obviously for wide receivers coming out of their transitions and the routes. And so naturally the first thing that we were talking about is we got to make sure that our feet are underneath our hips when we're transitioning out of routes, that, as a DB, it's feet before eyes, and making sure, which obviously doing a better job of playing with the eye control in the secondary will help some of the other situations that we ran into, the explosive plays as well.
You guys struggled for a few drives there in the second quarter, but then ended it, getting that field goal, came out in the second half, and had that nice screen pass to Ashton. Just kind of at that point, how comfortable were you guys feeling with the way the offense was moving?
Well, that's, we always talk about how we finished in the first half. Again, by no means, the end result today is not the standard, but the way we ended the first half, the way we started, there's some things within there that we can build off of and create a level of consistency, in all three phases that will help us, in our next opportunity.
The final score is what it is, but you said, I think earlier, that you have an unbelievable football team. How do you leave here, I guess, knowing you have another big game in 6-7 days, but overall, you can't let one game turn into two, I guess? Yeah, there's no question. That's football from week to week, and we're fortunate enough that, we've got a schedule here that it's going to require us to have that mentality. It's 10% of the situations that happen, always 90% of how you respond. And so when I say we have an unbelievable team, we have a team that will respond. We have a team that when the sun comes up tomorrow, we're going to be ready to work and grow, jump in the film room, and get those cleats back out on the grass and work to create that level of consistency for our next opportunity.
You guys had an early sack, and you're obviously going against one of the better O-lines you're going to face. So what did you think of the pass rush and the guys up front today?
Yeah, there was, it's when it comes to defense, everything works together. And so it's not just a matter of coverage, but you got to disrupt the timing in the passing game. And really there in the second quarter, we needed to do a better job with that. We obviously gave up too many explosive plays, which involves getting pressure on the quarterback. Obviously, maintaining and leveraging formations and routes is a huge part of that as well. So we're going to, from this first opportunity, we're going to be able to learn and grow from it. We've had very successful defenses here, and this defense will grow into a defense that is very competitive.
A couple more. I know you mentioned Ashton a little bit earlier, but 109 receiving, over 50 rushing, led your team in both. The 50-yard run off a screen where it looked like he was going to wait for a blocker to come up, and they just said, I'll make a miss and just go for it. How impressive was Ashton today, sign of things to come? Yeah,
there's no question. There's when we look back at this film, you're not only what was visible today, in terms of plays like you were just talking about from Ashton, but there's going to be other plays too that we're going to see that, like, we're right there. But when we're in it like this, again, when you're playing the number 10 team in the nation, you can't be right there. We got to be able to execute and be able to capitalize on the situations, because there was more than enough plays in all three phases as we talked about.
Obviously, the big plays, Washington did that to almost everyone on their schedule last year. Is that something where you can kind of fix it with one or two things, the eye control, the discipline, or is it just like, hey, these receivers are just that good one-on-one?
Well, there's there's a certain level of handling personnel. This is a game that we talk about all the time. This is a game of personnel and being able to understand where matchups are, and really it comes down again to not just once that ball snap, but the pre-snap and how we leverage formations to take care of the personnel and understand how we're going to handle those things, and then how we play the techniques once the ball is snapped. But again, yeah, I mean, we had an opportunity to play. What was the best passing offense in the nation last year, and we could have, there's a few plays that we obviously could have done a much better job with that would have, kept us in a tighter ball game. But those are the things we get to learn from, as we move forward. And I love these guys. I mean, I love the secondary, and that's why I say I'm excited to get back to it tomorrow and work on. Improving these things, because it's a group that cares. I mean, these are great young men, and that go along with that, as we already talked about. I was excited about how the defensive front played, in the run game. They're very stout in the run game, which obviously pushed Washington into the pass game.
It took Penix a couple drives to get started, but once he gets started, it just seemed like he was just nearly impossible to stop. How tough is it to get a quarterback like that when he's feeling it like he was?
Yeah, it's again, those are the challenges we knew we were going to come into this game. You want to keep it from getting rolling that way. There's certain things that, again, as we go back in and we analyze this film and we look at it, there's going to be certain things that, obviously are within control, and there's going to be some things that are within the game when you're playing an elite quarterback with some elite wide receivers, and we've got to be able to handle those plays and move on to the next play and have a next play mentality.
A little bit of a sidebar. I think I saw Wilkie on the field today, and isn't he a true freshman walk-on?
Yeah.
What is he, a local kid? So.
Well, yeah, local kid. I mean, obviously, Troy has been tremendous in, in his time at Boise State so far, the effort that he brings, a guy that is, is one of the fastest players on special teams day in and day out, and so that's the opportunity. Again, we're building a team that, and it's not just involved in the guys that we've seen play on the field. We had a couple true freshmen out there today, which is, again, exciting for us, for guys to be able to come in an environment like this and get some experience so that they can draw from that and understand what it really is and what it looks like to grow forward. And so, yeah, Troy's been doing a really nice job for us.
Taylor threw that second interception, but he was the first guy down the field to make the tackle and stop from being a score. What do you think that says about the fight and the competitiveness in the past?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that's that's one of the plays. It was a screen play, so naturally, you're going to draw the rush in, but there was a little bit too much heat there on that one. They actually brought a blitz up the middle, and one of the blitzers fell out right into the screen lane. And, again, at that point, it's about how you respond and get a guy on the ground. And so, Taylon's going to be able to grow and learn from this, and Taylon's going to have a good year. I'm really impressed. I think I know he's put in a lot of hard work in the offseason and has been consistent, but there's going to be things that he can learn from this game.
All right, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you.